As the proud children of science and reason, we have made ourselves the orphans of wisdom. Dr. Deepak Chopra. We cannot betray our spiritual nature without paying a great price. It is not that we have a soul, but that we are a soul. Dr. Rachel Riemann.
All right. We're grateful to have anyone who's here with us today. And our episode today is supposed to be about the theme of why us and why now. And after discussing it between the two of us, we're both still very confused. So we're just going to start.
So welcome. How excited are you?
And for those of you who don't know, I'm Bruce. And this is Tana. And she is my aunt. So when I call her Aunt Tana, that's to clarify that she is in fact my aunt. So today we're going to learn about her. So those who are watching who don't know you, where did this start? How long has something like this been inside of you? You always felt a closeness to spirituality, or what kind of made this come up and be a part of your life?
Gosh, that's a huge question. So let me see if I can chisel away at it a little. I feel like I did come into this planet with a deep spiritual tie. I feel like as a kiddo, I was always very aware that I was tied to something much bigger than myself and to a way deeper meaning and purpose. Now, does that mean that I went through every day of my life with grace and ease and joy and delight? Oh, no, it did not. What it equaled was that I had a place that I personally trusted and knew that I could turn to when I needed to. I feel like it made my challenges doable, and I feel like it made my rejoicings deeper. Obviously, in marriage and raising kiddos, I have 5 kids. 2 are adopted as older children. 2 are micro preemies. They're all adults now, but it has been a pretty rough journey. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a pretty rough journey with some steep learning curves. And at this point in my life, I would not entertain the idea of changing any of it because, oh my goodness, I love the things that I've learned. I love the things that I've learned. I love the things that I've learned to understand about me and about others and about the spiritual nature of life. So my last baby was born 20 years ago. She's 20 now. I can't believe that. She was a micro preemie. She was born at 22 weeks gestation, 22 weeks and 3 days. She weighed 1 pound and 1 ounce. And we were in the newborn ICU for 140 days. Gosh, just a large portion of that was very touch and go. If I could have felt confident for a day, that would have been lovely. Mostly it was from hour to hour and minute to minute, just wondering for the first couple months if she would even live, if she would be able to maintain and continue to grow and come through it. As I mentioned.
And that's kind of a spoiler because everybody knows the end of the book that you wrote, because this book is based on that experience, right?
Yes. So my mother said to me, "You need to write a book." And I said, "Right." And she said, "I'm serious." And when my mama told me to do things, then that meant I did them. And so I began on that journey, and it was so healing, very cathartic, very healing for me. And honestly, a lot of things I didn't know I had learned until I was writing them out. It's true what authors say that books write themselves. And I would sit down with this idea of what I was going to write that day, and then stuff came out in these shocking ways to me, and with lessons of conclusion that I went, wow, I didn't know that I knew that. But then I did, and it was stamped on my heart, and I was able to keep it as my own then, instead of it being this ethereal thing out there in the atmosphere.
And this wasn't your first time being in the hospital with a preemie child, right?
No, in fact, 13 years earlier, my second child that I had my first son was born at term, and It was a lovely experience. Everything went the way it should. I thought that's how it would always be. And my second child, who's also a son, I was just getting out of my car one day and hemorrhaged, and was life flighted to the hospital, and he was born. I almost bled both of our lives away. And I was young. I was 23 at the time, and I did not do that very gracefully. But luckily, my creator had grace for me. And I was able to still learn a lot of things and have some really, really meaningful experiences in that. What it taught me when I had my second preemie was that I would do it very differently, and I did. My husband felt the same way, and it was a completely different experience for us that time.
I don't know that there's much graceful about that situation or any situation in context. There's just no good way for that to come out. Even if everybody comes out okay, to handle that gracefully is like trying to catch a pane glass window after it's shattered, I think.
What a great visual. And let's face it, let's call it what it is, Bruce. It's me. Chances that I'm going to do it gracefully. It's just not a thing. My MO is hack my way through it and get out on the other side. At some point in my existence, aspire to be this graceful, dynamic, intelligent, just all the things woman. I actually, in my 20s, thought that would happen by the time I was 65, because my goodness, you're so old by then. At this point in my life, I'm looking at that going, I'm never going to make it. It's getting farther and farther away from me instead of closer and closer. Let me just say this. When I had my first preemie, I did that journey with so much resistance that it was very painful to me and very difficult for me to surrender to the experience, to have it, to allow it to teach me. When I had my daughter, my last, I gave into it. I said, oh, I'm going to have the experience. I'm going to not resist. I'm going to allow it. I'm going to give my baby grace and let her, didn't know I'd get emotional, let her be able to grow however she needed to. And that my job, I had more clarity, was simply to be her cheerleader and her advocate. And I had a lot more life experience by then upon which to stand. Another really beautiful thing about that is that we had just, not even a year before, adopted two older children, ages 9 and 6, and all of the difficulties that they had brought with them and the difficulties of trying to incorporate our dysfunctions together. Because folks, here is a truth, and that is to be able to handle your dysfunction, because we are all riddled with it. And it's very apparent when others with different dysfunctions try to mesh your lives together, as I know all of you have had experience with to one degree or another. And so we were muddling our way through that when our youngest was born. And the really, really beautiful thing about that in our family dynamic at that point was that she was the first memory that we all shared together. Because up to that point, it was us and our two boys' memories, and then our daughter and son that we adopted's memories, and they weren't shared. But this we went through together, and it brought us together immediately, got us on the same page. And as you know, and we all know, when tragedy strikes in our life, when tremendous challenge strikes in our life, it has a beautiful way of stripping away everything that doesn't really matter. All of a sudden, that just is so clear what matters and what doesn't. And all of that other stuff just falls away, and you come to this, what do I want to say? Like this beautiful homeostasis inside of yourself that clearly sees and only wants to serve what's good and blesses you your family, people around you. And the amazing thing was, too, that our whole community rallied around us. They wrapped their arms around us. They brought us food for 4.5 months. Even though I begged them not to, I said, I'm fine. I can cook. I can do the things. No, they wanted to share. They left blankets and toys and movies and just anything they could think of on the doorstep for us to receive. They watched our other 4 kids while we spent 2 trips a day at the NICU trying to nurture this tiny, tiny little baby. They threw their arms around us whenever they saw us. They asked us about her. They got together and made quilts for her. I just can't even enumerate all the amazing things they did. And it's because, to me, that's the spiritual resilience, right? That's when all of the fluff and the things that takes up our time and energy and thoughts and everything in our life falls away, and we just focus on those things that matter and that serve one another. We meet each other in that place of wholeness, and we connect with each other. And when we do that, it changes everything. And so her birth didn't just serve me personally. It didn't just serve me and my husband or my family. It served our whole community. And I can't even tell you how grateful I am for that, and how much I would not wish that NICU journey on anybody, and how grateful I am for it. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense. And that feeling that we're talking about, where everything else just falls away, in my experience, it's just kind of being stripped bare, and just everything is just raw and right in front of you. And like you said, there's no time or energy for fluff. It's just what's right there in that moment that you have to focus on, and brings out who and how you really feel, who you are and how you feel.
I love that you brought that up, Bruce. It is being present, isn't it? Spiritual resilience is being present. It is showing up, being willing, putting down all of our tools of resistance and just saying, I will have this experience. I will trust. I will learn. I will grow. I will expand. Because, my word, that's a very vulnerable position to be in.
And I just wanted to point out, I've read the book. You just said that you were able to sit back and let your daughter have the experience that she needed to have, and to be able to sit by that. And I know that comment holds so many things that are so much deeper, because that experience, to be able to try to even exist in that moment and try to be present, like saying that thing that is the most wholesome thing that you can do is try and be there and hang on for the ride. That wasn't just an idle thing that you did. That was something that was conscious, and something that you struggled to do, because it wasn't like you were always in that moment. Because even from your book, there are definitely times when you can tell when it's just over your head and there's nothing you can do.
Absolutely. There's nothing for me personally that has taught me so much that I have zero control over some elements in my life, and that when I think I do, it's really kind of comical. Now, I would not have anybody for one moment believe that I floated up to the NICU and sat lovingly beside my baby's bed and basked in goodness and presence and loveliness. No, because again, it's me. That's just not going to be a thing. Now, I did reach those moments, but mostly what I did is drag myself there in whatever shape I could, and said, oh, McKenna, I'm here for you. That's her name. I'm here. Let's do this together. What do you need from me, and what can I do for you? Was that experience. And like I said at one point in the book, it's living with your gut in a knot that is pulled so tight that you're pretty sure you're going to turn inside out any minute. And I wasn't really sure if I was or not. Go to bed, you dream about it, you wake up, and it's there, and you begin surviving the next day. And a thing about that, or a lot of things about that. One thing that was beautiful about it are the professionals that I gained such a closeness to, such a bond with, such a trust in, such a gratitude for their skill set, their abilities, their willingness to be with my precious baby and do for her what I could not. That was huge. Another thing that was very beautiful about it is that I certainly was not in the NICU alone. It was full of families with babies in there, walking a very similar journey. And this is a journey that statistically a little less than 11% of people will walk. What I find fascinating about that is that the things that I learned with the other people in the NICU who are learning their things are all the same things that anybody else who has their own experiences in life are going to learn, because there are as many roads to Rome, proverbial roads to Rome, as there are people on the planet. And those roads all lead to proverbial Rome. And I love that. I freaking love that. I love that, because then as we come to the proverbial table, all of us, and bring our experience and bring our lessons and bring our understandings and our knowings and our hopes and our dreams and all of those things, our struggles and failures, ungraceful moments, that we produce together a whole. And I love that. I love that idea, because in my years of working with people who are in pain and struggling through lots of different kind of journeys in their life, I've learned that. I've learned that that ground is sacred. I've learned that it's reverent. I've learned that it's meaningful and purposeful, and that we can each get through it as we develop our spiritual resilience, and that it's the path to a dawn of a beautiful new day, which will continue to happen through our lives. And that the lessons that these people are learning and experiencing me with the graciousness to let me walk with them and be by them while they do it are the same things that I have learned in my pain and hardness. So have I belabored that point enough?
I mostly would like to just add some, I guess, context to those words, because I can tell how deeply you feel about this. And a lot of these are all leading questions, because I know a lot about you because I've worked with you. Growing up, I would see you every once in a while for the family Christmas party or at Easter and that kind of stuff. And I didn't really know you that well until I moved up to Tooele and Stansbury Park for my job. And I started seeing you, and you were helping me through my struggles. And I've kept in touch with you, and it kind of led to this channel. But so when you were in the NICU, talking with the professionals and finding out more about them and all the people that you were going through these sufferings with, it might be only 11% of the population that ends up in the NICU. But even out of the NICU, many people made it out of there. I mean, that's a pretty brutal situation for someone to end up there. And I don't know what the chances of being able to take your child home. I think they're getting better and better, but at the time, terrifying prospect to have to be in that situation and to have other people going through that and just praying to be able to take their baby home, or whatever other situations that you had there.
So true. And of course, prognosis and all those things of, to get through that depends on so many factors. It depends on gestational age. It depends on complications that the mother experienced, and so the baby. It depends on even gender. Little baby girls tend to do better statistically than little baby boys in the NICU.
It wasn't just trying to make that be a medical breakdown. I was just more kind of to the fact that you were in a position where you started to really see other people in those situations and how they were having to cope with that stress, even PTSD that they would end up having from having to be in the NICU in such a stressful situation all the time, and what that looked like, a professional standpoint for the people who are trying to provide service and provide aid and trying to save these children, and also from the perspective of the people who were in there suffering.
Oh, well, let me clarify right away that every single person, including babies and professionals, parents, families who've been in a NICU, all have PTSD. Let's just be clear about that right away. And I giggle as we say that, but it's 100% true, because I spent several years serving on the National Perinatal Association Board of Directors. And we traveled the country and we held international conferences and all manner of things talking about every aspect of perinatal care, meaning pre-baby, pregnancy, birth, post-baby, or post-birth, sorry, not post-baby. Both professionals, mothers, fathers, families. And it's intense. And I know from all of that work and experience that that really is true. We all do have some level of PTSD. Saw many families who did not get to take their babies home. And I'm not sure how you're supposed to live if that's your journey. But I do know, I do know that it would have to be with spiritual resilience, because everything in the temporal world has just failed them. The only thing left is a spiritual realm. And I will also say that as a mother who sat through 2 NICU experiences, totaling just about a year of my life collectively, and as somebody who worked in the newborn ICU for 8 years, the way that I saw everybody get through was by turning to their own spiritual resilience tools, because you're in a situation that is so outside of your control, of your ability to know anything that really you have left. And it is also the thing that gives meaning and purpose to the journey. Otherwise, my friends, it's just pain. And just pain is not worth it. Pain that brings us more to our wholeness, worth it, I'm going to say. And I also want to say that NICU, there's this quote I found. It says, information is fast, wisdom is slow. And I'm an information junkie, as we've discussed before. So in the NICU, I learned everything that I could. I come from a medical family, so I already spoke the language. And I took the opportunity to learn everything. They said they awarded me an honorary doctor's degree when we graduated finally. But that was the easy part. The wisdom of it was much slower, and honestly has been settling in my soul for the last 20 years, and it's going to continue.
Yeah, and part of that settling, I think, is what you were talking about when you wrote the book. Didn't end there either. And as those experiences settled in, I mean, there's a whole new life that you took on when this book ended and when you got home and were able to start your life to what the next 20 years were going to be.
Sure. So I had some knowings in the NICU that she was going to live and she was going to do well. What I also knew by the time my NICU experience was over was that I was going to need some more tools for that to be true, because it wasn't going to be the doctors that were going to make that happen. It wasn't going to be typical normal things, though I did avail myself of all those things, of all the NICU follow-up specialists and all the things. We did all of those. It became more and more clear to me that I needed more tools. And as I did the spiritual work of wondering where to turn for that, I was given clear answers. And what it was the world of kinesiology. And so I jumped in, trusting, not knowing, but just trusting and saying, okay, I'm willing. I will open myself to this and see what happens. And I took my first class, and then my second and third and bazillionth. I was qualified to practice in 5 different genres under the umbrella of kinesiology by the end of the year. Then I just asked people to be warm bodies on my table so that I could practice on them, and I did. And I worked for a little less than a year, and then knew inside of myself that magic happened where it was no longer this burden that I had to stop and think of every little thing. First learned to drive. And it had become more of an expression of art, an expression of spirit, expression of understanding. And I knew that I was ready then to open my business and serve others in their trials. And so I did that for 15 years and loved every minute of it. Learned amazing things, walked with incredible people in their journeys, came out of every session practically on my knees in gratitude and just love the incredible strength and beauty and courage that people have to face their pains, and this innate hope, this innate knowing that there is deeper meaning and purpose, and that it's worth it to work through it. And it's worth it to gain new tools, and it's worth it. Changed my life, changed my trajectory.
Yeah. On a more lighthearted note, I know a lot of this has been really deep, and if you're still here, God bless you.
A+ extra credit.
Not because it's just a lot of life to take in and to do without context. And I'm really hoping that in later episodes that we get to dive in more into what you did in those sessions. The people, we probably won't get into the people who you worked with, but open the tools that you practiced and became well adept at when you were helping people. And the other thing I was going to say to lighten the mood is just, I made it this far, then you clearly understand that, especially Anton, but myself as well, we have a different view on life. Maybe it's unique, maybe it's not, but one of the things is neither one of us believes in the concept of time, really.
Totally bogus. That's just a bold-faced lie. I'm a bold-faced lie.
Yes.
Not you.
And then both of us have just had a real deep appreciation for all things spiritual, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of spirits in a lot of things that we talk about, and kind of this channel. And one of the other things that led to this is your book, if you wanted your new book that you've been trying to write for the last few years that you were telling me about.
Yeah, so I just wanted to write, different stories from my life, because I think stories are a powerful forum for learning and for sharing. So I just wanted to write vignettes that I have experienced from life and how they speak to me on a spiritual level, and what they teach me. And I was all excited about it. I wrote, and pretty close to having a whole book. And every time, contemplate that I was almost done, I would just get this voice that said, "It's not a book." And I would say, "Yeah, it is. Look, it's right here. I'm writing it. It's all the words right here." And the voice is like, "Not a book. It's a YouTube." And nope. Because here's the thing, folks. I love to teach. I love to speak. Like the whole chart of wonderful things that fill my soul, those are got to be the top 2. I love to sing. Put me on a stage and give me a microphone. I am in my bliss. The rules are I must never see or hear me doing any of those things. And so the answer is a YouTube? No. And so here we are. That's how that argument went. I have no idea that this will be meaningful to another soul on the planet. I really hope it is. If it isn't, then it is good practice for me. Get over myself. Right, Bruce? We had that conversation.
We did have that conversation.
We did.
And it is hard, because I have to say that it was partly my fault, because I did say that, I'd record this and put it somewhere. I don't think I said YouTube the first time, but the second time, the time that got us in this mess was like, this is a YouTube channel. I know how to do one. I'll get it set up. And just for reference, this is episode 3, but this is episode 3 of the third time that we tried to set up. So there's actually like other episodes that no one's ever going to see because they didn't work out.
Nobody is ever going to see them. It's true. And I just want to say that I think that's super cute, Bruce, when you say it's kind of fault. I'm going to go with a lot more than kind of. I'm going to go with a lot your fault.
You wrote the book.
And I love you. And it's a lot your fault.
It's good we clarified those points. I have to say, too, I did not expect this, but having to edit all the videos and do all that kind of stuff, it's rough to hear my own voice on mic.
I just will accidentally click on it. I'll hear me and just go, oh,
whole new
it's not
experience.
pleasant. I just want you to know that inside of myself, in my inner ears, as I hear me, it's very grown up. It's very mellow. It's kind of lovely. And then when I hear me through speakers, it's shocking. Oh, well.
I like that.
Is what it is. Nobody else in my family is shocked. They're like, what'd you say, honey? I'm like, oh, my word. I do sound like that.
And then to kind of back around, I kind of through all these avenues. The one point that I would like to get back to is just, why us and why now? And we've given a little bit of history on how this actually came to be, which is really kind of thin air. I'm just like, yeah, do it. And we'll try it and it doesn't work, then we'll bag it. If not, we just end up with, videos that we get to have for posterity. So that's this came out of, and who knows how far it'll go. But I think the effort behind it and the thing that both of us want is to connect. And in doing the last edit for the video with the last one, to decide on words for the end of the video, I just came across the phrase bless and connect instead of like and subscribe. But I really think that's something that we would both really like to do with this channel, is to be able to bless other people with these stories that my aunt's written and life experiences. I think that is one of the key things to spiritual resilience, is to connect. As you were talking about with all of the people in the community that you set up at the NICU, and in further after you picked up all those skills to help McKenna and all the people that you served with that afterwards and built a community with them. And eventually I became a part of that. I am so grateful for that. And that is also something that just seemed to just fall out of the sky. And it's something that has really blessed my life.
It blessed mine equally. And I just feel like, why us? Because we want to reach out. We want to connect. We want to meet you in your wholeness and have you meet with us in our wholeness. And sometimes wholeness is in the midst of pain, and sometimes it's in the midst of rejoicing. But the wholeness, nevertheless, lift and support each other. Why now? Because I feel like as our 2 opening day, that the world becomes more and more the orphan of wisdom. And by wisdom, I mean that spiritual wisdom. And that there is a greater and greater betrayal in general in the world of that spiritual nature. And it is requiring a tremendous cost. And I would love to create a space where we can come back together, take a breath, slow down for that wisdom for a little minute in our world of fast information, connect to each other's wholeness, and build our toolboxes together. That's a dream. It's a bucket list kind of thing for me. I'm so grateful for all the people who have blessed me in tremendous ways through all these years and have molded me into the person that I am and the person that I will be. Super. I'm going to express that kind of gratitude, can they?
No.
That I feel it deeply. So we just would really love to hear your thoughts about why we need spiritual resilience now. What do you think? What would your answers be to that? If it was you, why you? It was you. So why you? And why now? I would love to hear that. I wish that we could sit in a circle in my room and just talk to each other and see each other and discuss all of these things together. But we'll have to settle for comments back and forth to each other and such. And I will love that as well. I'm easy.
Yeah. I was gonna say we would love to have comments and thoughts on any and all of this. And even if this goes nowhere, I am very grateful and appreciative too of just having this learn a lot about what I thought I already knew something about. Also to be able to go through this whole material in my own life and kind of where I'm at and how I'm doing and where I want to go from there. And just a comment that kind of with that from what you were saying earlier, meeting people in their wholeness, thinking a lot about the attitude that we can have in thinking about other people and trying to quote unquote help them, because it's kind of a loaded phrase. Just that not trying to fix anybody. It's that we're all, as you said, in our state of wholeness, and we're trying to find our way in this very broken world, as I've said before, because that's what it is. But we're whole people in a broken world trying to find our way through all that's happening in our lives. But we're not any one of us broken and in pieces or shambles at any one point. We're just trying to find our way.
I think we are, and we're trying to rediscover that wholeness in this plane, in this sphere, which is unfamiliar to us. Awesome. Any other wonderful things you want to say, Bruce, or are we wrapping it up?
I think we can wrap it up for tonight.
Okay. So much for joining us. You've been tremendously courageous and perseverant, and we're grateful. I'm going to say like and subscribe if you feel that you would like to. Also, bless and connect. Let's do that. And let's go experience this week and get together again soon. Good luck with that. We love you and care about you. Wish the best for you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that now's the time we say like and subscribe, but even more importantly, we'd like to say take the time right now to care for someone today, whether it's yourself or someone else. And remember that wisdom is knowing we need each other. Have a blessed day.